lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Hello, horror hounds, and welcome to Now Slaying, an It Slays podcast production where we break down the latest and greatest in the world of horror. I'm your not-so-humble host, Colton.
I'm Rowan.
And today on the show, we're going to be discussing Final Destination Bloodlines, which was released May 16th, 2025, exclusively in theaters. Now, Rowan, this one's been a long time coming. I feel like for the past... Yeah, like extra long. It's been rumored for, I feel like, every year for the past 5 years. We've been hearing about that this new entry in the Final Destination franchise is coming out, but after a 14-year wait, it's finally here. Would you consider yourself a fan of the Final Destination franchise, and were you looking forward to Final Destination Bloodlines?
I'd say maybe like a mild fan. I feel like I'm like every other millennial. Like obviously 2 is just like imprinted into everyone, like pop culture's brains.
Yeah, we're all traumatized by logging trucks.
Yeah, and I've seen 1 a couple times. It's kind of funny because 1 I never remember. Like, no matter how many times I see it, I never remember the kills. I don't remember the catalysts. And then the only other one that was really, like, memorable to me is it 4? Yeah, so, yeah, I believe it was 4 with the NASCAR wreck and the 3D and seeing it in the theater. I'm pretty sure. But these aren't ones that I don't visit, I guess, really. So I guess I'm like a middling fan. Like they were fun when I was a kid or when I saw them. They're not ones I really revisit as an adult. Like I've got the collection, the Blu-ray collection. It sits on my shelf. I've never looked at it. I bought it. I opened it. I never actually put it in. So that goes to show you how important they are in my life. What about you? Are you a big Final Destination guy?
I'm kind of in the same place, I believe, where it's just kind of, I look forward to them in this general sense of, oh, they're kind of dumb fun. This one in particular it's been a long while since we've got one of these, so let's see, what does the Final Destination franchise look like in 2025? But yeah, it's the sort of thing I enjoyed seeing them when they first came out, where you watch Final Destination 3, the roller coaster one, with your friends in the theater. You're kind of the right age where you're laughing at all these kind of vapid, terrible teenagers getting murdered in increasingly hilarious ways, more or less. That I enjoyed watching them as they all came out to, some degree. I agree that I think probably the second one is the best balance of somewhat serious horror, but also a lot of fun kills, and obviously just this sequence in the beginning with the logging trucks that once again has traumatized the generation. So it's had a lasting effect, but I don't know if I'd call myself a fan either.
I did text you and say I thought it was one of the strongest franchises maybe in horror.
Yeah, so I don't think I'd go that far, although if you put a gun to my head, I also don't know what franchise in horror I'd pick as the strongest franchise in horror. But I was looking forward to it, cautiously. Yeah. As we got closer, it was the sort of thing where people were kind of raving a little bit more about the movie. It was critically positive. I haven't checked it
today
to see if it still is.
Letterboxd is sitting at a 3.2.
Okay, any idea on the Rotten Tomato score? Yeah, I mean, that is really good. But yeah, it was the sort of thing where obviously people were giving this pretty favorable reviews that was, it was adjusting my expectations.
I'm just cutting in here for all the listeners. Yeah. The Rotten Tomato score, 93%.
Well, so that's what I'm saying, that this was getting basically universal appraise, where once a movie is scoring that well, it kind of adjusts my expectations a little bit, where I'm expecting more than just a dumb, fun horror movie at that point. So it kind of made me a little bit apprehensive about it. Also, I feel like I just saw that guy with the nose ring, who looks strikingly similar to a third AD I work with on set all the time, just die, I don't know, a dozen times over the past 3 months. So it was the sort of thing where I was getting tired of seeing the trailer and just kind of ready to see the movie. So should this be the franchise's final destination? Well, before we get into that, let's throw it on over to the trailer.
Years ago, I had a premonition. I saw what death was about to do. I saved a lot of lives that night.
Grandma started a chain reaction. Death is coming for us because we were never supposed to exist.
This book will show you everything you need to know to keep our family safe.
I've been following Death for years. He's back to finish what he started.
Final Destination Destination Bloodlines, May 16th. Rated R.
Final Destination Bloodlines was directed by Zach Lipovsky and Adam B. Stein, and written by Guy Busick and Laurie Evans Taylor. And the story is as follows. Plagued by a recurring violent nightmare, a college student returns home to find the one person who can break the cycle and save her family from the horrific fate that awaits them. Now, here on Now Slaying, we like to keep things relatively spoiler-free up front before getting into the more in-depth spoiler-filled discussion. So, Rowan, what are your spoiler-free thoughts on Final Destination Bloodlines?
Well, I'm going to tell you straight up, I'm not a Rotten Tomatoes reviewer, that's for sure. Yeah, so I mean, I went into this, like I said, I sent you the text. I was like, is this the strongest franchise all time? Because I did rewatch. I didn't get to the fifth one, which I'm pretty sure I still haven't seen yet.
Is that the... Oh, okay, I was just about to say, is that the escalator one? There's one where I feel like someone has a premonition of an escalator going out of control and like eating people.
Oh, maybe that's why. I think that one's like a bridge is the catalyst. Like,
okay, so maybe it's the sort of thing where the bridge is the catalyst and then the escalator eats people at some point in it. I just remember an escalator eats people at some point in this franchise.
So I did rewatch them all, and I thought it was interesting seeing this because in relation with Bloodline, because, you know, I thought about, especially when you get to 4, which just look, that's the that's the NASCAR one, the 3D one, and the whole film looks like a porn parody. Like, it's shot like a porn parody. The graphics are not like amazing, but it's early 3D. Yeah, like
the visual effects. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Well, I mean, it's basically graphics because every time someone dies, it looks like Nintendo 64, PlayStation 1 cutscene going on.
Listen, this one doesn't look much better visually either, but keep going.
This is what I'm getting to. That one is like so bad it's good type thing. Like, it knows what it is. It's like, you're here for this outrageousness. I don't care how silly it looks. And this, to me, like, Bloodline is committing the sin of the effects look maybe worse than some of the other Final Destinations that are from like 15 years ago.
So you just watched them. Sorry to cut you off, but you just watched them. Did they used to use practical effects at some point in this franchise? Because
okay, all right. The first and the second one, there is like some good practical, and even I think even the third and fourth, there is some practical effects. Obviously, the more outrageous, you know, people getting crushed. I think in every single one, someone gets crushed by a sign or something. Like, obviously, that's going to be like, you know, CGI. But like I said, you know, in the time period it was in, those graphics were good. Like, that way, it's like, okay, this is, you know, 2000, whatever, 2009, 2000. Like, I'm like, for a horror movie that probably doesn't have a huge budget, like, this is fine. It's funny. And as the series went on, it got very self-referential, and it just knew what it was. And this is kind of what I think almost, in my opinion, happened with the Scream remakes. I'll be interested to see if it happens with I Know What You Did Last Summer remakes. But kind of people that maybe really do love the franchise, but are like trying to bring it to like a serious audience almost. They want to make it a little more serious than it really is. And to me, that just like, there's a taint in my mouth from watching this because of that. I just think it took itself way too seriously for me. There is some funny stuff in it. You know, you mentioned the guy that looks like your
my coworker,
your coworker
I work with all the time.
So the character Eric, Richard Harmon, who I'm not like overly familiar with. I know he was in Flash, like the CW show.
Okay. I don't think I was familiar with him whatsoever, unless they have him looking vastly different in this than other things he's been in.
He just always looks like he's in an emo band or something.
Okay.
But he seems to be a very popular kind of like teen actor. He was in the Flash. He was in that show, The 100s or whatever.
He's in Trick or Treat.
Is he really? That's interesting.
As Vampire Kid.
Oh, shit. Vampire Kid on the bus with the mask. Oh, man.
Wow.
Shout out
It's
to that
huge.
guy. Yeah. Since I'm talking about him, like I thought his character was probably the best character in this.
I agree. Yeah.
Because his character seemed like he was in this universe. This is what the characters in the other, movies are like. They're kind of funny. Like, even if they're trying to be serious, like, there's something funny about them. They're very, like, stereotypical. And, this is like a series of tropes. Like, it's always, the jockey guy, the ditzy blonde girl. And like I said, obviously, new generation, I guess. They wanted to be a little more serious. Bring in some of that lovely family trauma into your final destination.
It's here.
Yeah.
The trauma is here.
And I just felt like that really hurt it. And, I'm sure most of our spoilers are going to be talking about, like, the kills or whatever.
I have, like, 2 or 3 notes for the spoiler section. There's not really a whole lot to discuss.
I mean, to me, I was very underwhelmed by the actual kills in this movie because, like I said, 4 is terrible. Like I said, I thought it was a porn parody, essentially. But that NASCAR scene is so over the top, so ridiculous, but in the funniest ways that it just works. And that's how these work. And even going back to the first one, like, hey, what do you call it? The machines that you hit something to hit something else to do something else. You know what I'm...
Rue Goldberg machine.
Yeah, Rue Gold... Like, this series is just a Rue Goldberg machine of death. And I just thought, like... The deaths in this were super lazy. I thought they weren't very interesting. Like, it was stuff that you're like, oh yeah, like someone would die if that happened. Where it's like all the other ones, it's like all these random events happening, and it's like something you thought was going to kill them doesn't kill them, and then it's something else. Where I felt a lot of these ones, it's just like, this is what's going to kill you, and guess what? That's what killed them. And so it's just like, there was no mystery. There was no... I thought the death thing, they kind of rearranged the rules in this series to try to make it their own, build some lore out. I think it hurts it more than helps it. I thought some of the musical cues were all right. Obviously, this series, like I said, I just watched it, so it's fresh on my mind. Like, they use funny musical cues when people are gonna die to try to relate it to the death. So, obviously I giggled. They played, like, Johnny Cash, Rain of Fire, and I was like, okay, but I just thought overall this looked terrible. That was like my main concern with this. What are some of your like thoughts here?
Yeah, you've touched on a lot of things that I share similar thoughts on, but by and large, yes, I think visually the movie looks awful for the most part. I was kind of shocked by the visual effects a lot of the time because obviously it's a Final Destination movie. It's going to be pretty gory, but for me, I felt like almost every single kill had no effect on me whatsoever. There's a handful of creative ones, or at least like where I'll admit like, oh, that's pretty fun. I'll get into the details of one for sure in the spoiler section. But by and large, it is quick. Oh, something flew through someone's head. Oh, something squat them. Oh, they exploded. And it's a lot of just gory eruptions, just visual effects noise, more or less. I think maybe I like the opening disaster a little bit more than you, where kind of the core conceit of this movie is an idea where it's essentially a period piece that starts off the movie, and this person having the premonition and kind of seeing this disaster occur saves such a huge number of people that it takes death a while to kind of catch up to them. And it's sort of basically death has to go throughout their whole bloodlines because none of those people should have existed. They shouldn't have been able to procreate and, have kids and grandchildren, which I think is a fun idea. But largely, I was just kind of bored. It's the sort of movie where, as you said, they're trying to make it a little bit more serious, a little bit more grounded. We're delving into family trauma, and I just don't think really these movies need this level of characterization. I don't care about knowing the main character and why she's flunking out of school and her brother and, her mom walking out. And it's just, I'm here to see like people get their hair caught in a roller coaster. I'm here to see a couple of people burn up in a tanning bed sillily. Like, it's the sort of movie where I just want to be having fun with it the entire time. So trying to kind of like overwrite these characters to make them more than caricatures was just at odds with the tone of the movie, because obviously it's the sort of movie that 90% of your cast, if not 100% of your cast by the end of it, are going to be dead. We're not going to care about these characters much when they're going out in this, horrifically kind of hilarious way. So it just felt like to me a lot of screen time was devoted to fleshing out these characters that they're going to die in 15 minutes anyways. It was kind of like a shrug, like who cares? Like what a waste of time. This thing's runtime is at an hour and 50 minutes, and I felt that. It felt very long to me. It's the sort of thing like, yeah, dude, I'm not sure why it's scored so high. I don't hate it or anything, and as I said, there's a couple of great scenes, or good scenes at least for this sort of franchise in there. But yeah, it was just kind of whatever for the most part. I think Tony Todd's cameo is pretty good. We'll get into the details in that in the spoiler section, just the specifics of it. But I liked seeing him in the movie, and it was kind of I don't know, like a melancholy note, I guess, for his character and like what he was discussing. And then obviously this is the last movie he filmed before his death. I thought that was pretty interesting.
He looked rough. He looked rough.
He did look rough, but I haven't seen him in a movie in ages, so I didn't know if maybe he was just a thinner man in his late age or.
No, I mean I'm pretty sure he had cancer. So, but I mean you could tell. I was gonna say even like his movements, like you could tell, like lifting his arm was not like an easy thing for him to do, or just like simple motions. But like you said, to me, if anything, I was happy to like the highlight of the movie going for me. It was like, I get to see Tony Todd one last time.
Yeah, and it wasn't a disrespectful scene. It wasn't a silly scene. He did a good job with what he was given. I thought it was one of the standout scenes in a movie that, outside of probably one or two kills, will be largely forgotten about for me in a week's time. So I don't really have anything else really to say about it, to tell you the truth, in spoiler-free section.
I mean, all I had was, I thought one thing that I think has kind of lacked in this series since the first one, really, like, I thought there was only really two standouts, like acting wise in this. I mean, the first one, I thought everyone was pretty good. Obviously, like you said, I think after one, they just kind of knew these people are fodder. So it's like, as they go on, like they don't even bother developing any characters. So they're just like, oh, this is a guy, this is a girl they're dating. That's all you need to know.
And I don't mind a little bit of character development like that, just or like kind of bringing you into the world of like what sort of archetype is this character, or what caricature are they portraying.
Yeah.
But this movie spends, I don't know, probably 20 minutes trying to get to know this family unit, and it's literally like just a CW show, for 20 minutes here, and I felt it.
Yeah, well, and, I thought it was kind of interesting that, like, time we spend with kind of, like, the main family, we spend all this time, but then they just use it to, like, there's people that we spend a lot of time with that have no bearing in this movie, that they simply... It's not even like killing people. They're just like, oh, these people, they don't matter anymore. Like, they're not part of this, whatever. And then I'm like, you just made me watch an hour of these people. Like, so, and now it's just like, oh, don't worry about it. These people won't die. It doesn't matter. Yeah, the only other really note I had was, which we kind of hit, like, Richard Harmon. I really enjoyed him. I thought he was like the standout of the film, the guy that plays Eric in this. I thought he was really good in this. And I actually really liked Breck Basinger, who plays Iris, like younger Iris.
Okay, yeah, I think she was good as well.
I thought she was super charming. I really liked her. And it's funny that the two people I like, both from DC CW TV shows. He's from Flash.
Interesting.
She plays Stargirl in the Stargirl series.
There's a Stargirl series? I've never heard of that.
There is. I haven't watched it yet. I remember the first season got like really good reviews, like better, I think, than any of the other shows got. And then it got canceled after the second one, basically once they started winding it down. But yeah, they like them and Tony Todd. That was like really my only standout for this. And I'll be honest, I also probably don't have anything to say till the spoiler-free section, because you also don't want to spoil any of the
I don't want to get into any specifics about it. That's why even with talking about the disaster that opened up the movie, I kept it vague. But yeah, this is the sort of thing where I would recommend you go see it if you're a fan of the franchise, if you care about it, if you're kind of yearning for a Final Destination movie. It's been 14 years, and you're curious. sure, go see it. But otherwise, I don't think there's any reason you need to rush out and see this. If would be like your first Final Destination movie, it's just don't bother. Let's watch it when it's on streaming or something. Like, what are you doing? And I mean, it's already killing it at the box office, so I don't feel bad. It's already made double its budget, so completely fine with recommending not to bother go see it if you're not already a fan. What about yourself, Rowan?
Well, before you throw it over to me, I need to know, was the theater packed for it, or?
God, we need to figure out how to organically mix this theater talk into our spoiler-free sections. For me, I saw this in IMAX. It was probably, I don't know, a quarter full.
Oh, okay.
I happened to go, I think, to the first screening, like 7 o'clock on a Thursday, so it was the preview screening. There was a good amount of probably like late teens, in there that seemed to be excited for the movie, but like when the movie started, I didn't hear anyone like hooting and hollering or laughing really at the movie. It was just kind of, we were all there and experiencing it together. So yeah, nothing really to report other than that, I saw it in IMAX and it was loud, I guess.
Yeah, I was gonna say I went to my local like small town theater. I saw it on a Saturday at 3, and for that time it was pretty full. It was a lot of teens, a lot of like university students. Sadly, a woman that took her son and she took phone calls the entire time. I didn't feel bad. I was gonna say I felt mildly bad. I didn't feel bad. There was a lot of people that may have used the word "shut the fuck up" screaming at her.
Yeah, that may have been me. I'm kind of one of those people.
She didn't get the hint. She just continued to take phone calls.
Oof.
And not only take phone calls, but they were on speaker, so you just would like hear the other
that's
person.
I have to go get the like theater staff involved because I'm gonna fucking kill this lady if I'm stuck there with her for 2 hours.
But the main reason I did bring it up, and I wanted to bring up mine, was because in the spoiler-free section, there was a lot of audience reaction. Listeners, take hold of that, because I'm going to tell you in the spoiler-free section what the reaction was for, and it doesn't help this film.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, okay. A little cliffhanger there. As for my recommend, I'm kind of like you. I feel like if you're like, Final Destination movie, you're probably going to go see. Like you said, it's already doubled its budget. Get ready for Bloodlines 2 coming. Like, they're going to start whipping these out because all you guys went and saw it. And, we didn't mention, but I think streaming is the best way to see it. And this was meant to be a streaming movie. I mean, I remember when this first got announced, this was like a COVID film. Like, it was supposed to come out on streaming.
That's what I was saying in my opening, kind of setting up if I was excited for this movie or not. This has been rumored since like 2019.
Yeah.
And I remember we have discussed at least twice on our year ahead, look ahead episodes of Final Destination is supposed to come out this year. But I think also just in conversation, it has come up on the other shows that, I think they're making one soon, right?
They talked about this being a TV show and...
Oh my God.
And yeah, like, so, and then that it was just going to be straight to streaming. So, like any of these movies that you and me end up watching for now, saying that go in the theater that are supposed to be straight to streaming, you can tell every time. Every time you're like, okay, that makes sense. So yeah, I'm pretty much like I guess I'm like light recommending it. If you're like us and we're just giving the system money.
Yeah, essentially, we're both recommending it if you're already a fan of the franchise. If not, check it out when it hits streaming. It was meant to go there originally anyways. And with that, I think it's time to cut to the spoiler discussion for Final Destination Bloodlines. We are now in our spoiler discussion for Final Destination Bloodlines, so if you've not seen Final Destination Bloodlines, it's time to tune out and come back once you've seen the movie, or keep listening if you simply don't care. Rowan, you had kind of a cliffhanger there, but your audience laughing. How about you tell us what they were laughing at?
So I thought what was interesting, which I take points away from this movie for, is we talked about, as a millennial, we all have this trauma of the log truck, which is used multiple times in this movie. Once, awesome. When I saw the log truck the first time driving, I'm like, yeah, salute to Final
Nice little
Destination.
reference. Yeah.
But, like, I think we see it, like, 3 times in this movie. We end on the log truck, causing the death of our leads. This is the only time people reacted in my theater was for the log truck. Young, old, because people knew the second one. They're like, oh, the log truck.
Like the Leo meme, like people pointing at the screen, like excited. Like, I recognize the log truck.
And like people verbally being like, oh, Final Destination 2. Like,
oh my God.
But that was like literally the only thing that anyone reacted to this.
That's brutal.
Yeah.
That's brutal. I can't imagine that.
So that was my first spoiler knock on it was, if the only reaction you're getting in my theater is the log truck from another Final Destination movie, just the reference, it's not a good thing. I would like to talk about the main cause of death coming back, the main disaster, because I feel like you and me feel a little different about that.
Yeah, it's basically a period piece where essentially a Sky Needle or CN Tower, if you're Canadian, just basically a large tower with kind of like a glass viewing bottom and like a restaurant and whatnot up top. It's opening in like probably the 60s, 70s?
Yeah, I kind of took it was the 60s maybe. I was kind of curious because I feel like Ring of Fire and stuff was 50s. And I'm not going to be that guy, but I was like, there's a lot of there's a lot of black people working here that at this time period probably would not. They're also like yelling at white people, and I'm like, this seems weird. For this period.
Race relations were a lot more tense.
I'm glad in this universe they can be amicable and apparently
racism doesn't exist in the Final Destination universe. But yeah, it's essentially this prolonged sequence where I like this as well. Like honestly, when this sequence was starting, I was like, wait, is this movie a period piece somehow? I thought I saw somebody with piercings and shit in this. So I was intrigued right off the bat with this. They do a good job of setting up these two key characters where one of them is getting ready to pop the question. The other one is a few months late on their period, so they believe they're pregnant. And it's the sort of idea where there's this slow tension building throughout the entire sequence of, okay, like there's some cracks forming in the glass on the dance floor. There is a kid throwing pennies all the time off of the towers, which is something I was always told growing up, that if you throw a penny off the CN Tower, you're going to kill somebody. There's a gas leak, I think, that springs. There's all these different aspects and elements, and you're just kind of waiting for them all to come together in this explosive way where you obviously everyone assumes people are going to fall to their death through the glass floor. It's just kind of, I don't know, it feels like probably like a 10-minute sequence opening this movie, I would say, with some decent characterization. As you mentioned, the actress that you're following, she's solid. And essentially it kind of all erupts with the dance floor falling out, the penny causing a spark and a fan that blows up, I don't know, the elevator or something. And basically the whole tower winds up toppling over. So you see people, fall to their deaths and splatter. You see people get impaled. You see people burn to death. You see whatever, where there's a bunch of different variations of deaths here. I think largely a lot of the deaths look bad in terms of a visual effects element, but in terms of setting up kind of the tone of the movie and this fun over-the-top sequence, I thought I enjoyed it for the most part.
I think we're actually in total agreement here. Like,
okay, perfect.
I do like it. My main issue was I was like, most of it just looked really bad. Like the skyline looked bad. Yeah. Obviously, when we're looking down, I'm just like, even some of the establishing shots from this tower, I'm like, could we not just get on a tower and, shoot some film of down below or something? Like, everything is like CGI and, I guess whatever, but I did like the setup on it. Obviously, I was a little wonky because obviously they also try to bring in the lore of like William Bloodworth, his like, this is his origin story. So this is how Tony Todd discovered about death and how it works. And like they have the scene where he's hiding and she's like being pulled away by security and she's just like smiling at him, essentially winking at him. And I'm just like, oh, okay. Like, why would she be doing this? It's like so random. But overall, yeah, like I did like the setup of this. I thought it was fairly outrageous. Like, it's something different. It is outrageous. I thought it looked really bad. And to me, I was like, a lot of the other ones, not that they look great if you go watch them now, but at the time they looked pretty good. And there was a mix of, we're going to use CGI, but we're also going to do like practical stuff as well, where it was like pretty much everybody here, it was just like CGI stuff.
Oh, I think basically everything in this was visual effects. There might be some elements with maybe the MRI kill, which we'll get into, that may have been practical, possibly, or maybe they just actually had good visual effects at moments with that. But yeah, this opening sequence, it's the sort of thing where they built a set for them to be in, up, high up in the sky, and then it's just, you can just tell it's like blue screen, green screen everywhere, underneath, all around, fake sun, fake, it just looks awful. It's visually, it's awful. It's the sort of thing that it's not taking me out of the movie completely yet, just because I'm kind of buying into these characters, and also for me, I was just kind of curious, like, oh, once again, is this a period piece somehow? Is it going to be set in like the 70s or 80s or something? That was just kind of interesting to me. But yeah, it was a good opening sequence. It's the sort of thing where it's probably something I will remember from this movie. It won't be like the fifth one where I didn't remember a bridge collapsing. It's like I'll probably remember essentially the CN Tower exploding and falling over.
Well, and I hope so, because this was also pretty much all shown in the trailer. So...
Okay.
Most of the trailers
I think the only
had this.
No joke. I think the only trailer I saw was literally like the scene of I forget his name, Eric in the tattoo
which
parlor,
I never saw. I never saw that trailer.
You've never saw that?
No,
dude,
no.
That was the only trailer I saw. It's like 3 minutes long, and it's essentially probably about 85% of that scene where it's
That's
just
hilarious.
him tattooing dad on himself, piercing the girl's
That's
tongue,
awesome.
having the clothes up, the entire sequence, nose ring getting wrapped around the fan. I saw that, no joke, at least I would say 10 times in theaters, possibly more than that. Enough that when it happened in this movie, it was the sort of thing where I was like, oh, the music is a little bit different. They used a different song for the trailer than the movie. Oh, this shot is a little bit longer. Oh, this specific part wasn't in the trailer. It's the sort of thing where I was so familiar with that kill, which, we all thought it was going to be the kill going into the movie, that I was just completely bored by that sequence. Although I do really like the fact that character survived, because we both said that he's easily the best part of the movie. This Eric character, this emo kid, that he has kind of like this very playful idea of death, obviously, where he's just like, oh, this is all nonsense. He's kind of goading it all the time, overconfident, and then finally he gets his comeuppance with the MRI machine sequence.
I was going to say, I do kind of wish, we're talking about that intro setup, like, this might be the only time I was kind of like, I kind of wish they kind of did a prequel. They kind of did like a one all in the 50s. Because I think it would be so different for anything the series has done. Now, I know everyone's going to make me eat those words, because I'm sure as this makes a shit ton of money, we're going to get like Final Destination, the prequel. And
yeah, we will get one. Don't worry about it. But I kind of agree. I don't know if I would have wanted it in the 50s or the 60s, but like let's go the core conceit of the movie. Let's say it was literally the people in the opening scene's children. So let's go to like the 70s or something, right? That way, even like Eric being in the tattoo parlor and kind of grungy, it would kind of fit with that time period as well. Because once again, that's all I knew about the movie, right? It was just the sort of thing where I was like, oh, okay, maybe it is a period piece. But I agree. It would have been interesting. It would have been something else to make it stand out a little bit more. And it certainly would have been better than just this like family trauma nonsense that we wound up getting, for so much of this movie. Do we just discuss the kills? What do we do? There's
no story. There's no real story.
We're not discussing the story. I think the main girl in this movie is terrible. I could not stand her.
She's not good.
And
Canadian.
And I think,
shout out to the Canadians though.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, and this is also like a bit superficial, so maybe skip past this, but it's the sort of thing when I was watching it, she's supposed to be playing like an early like 20s, like college student, like basically someone who did well in high school and is now struggling with college, and basically she can't sleep, she's flunking all of her classes and whatnot. But this woman playing this character, she looks 35. And I mean, I'm 32, so it's fine. I understand. I think in real life she's like 28 or whatever. It's just, and she's supposed to look tired, obviously, and stressed out and whatnot. But when I was watching this movie, I was like, this character almost looks old enough to be the mother of her brother in this movie. And maybe it's just because the brother looks so youthful. But it was the sort of thing when I was watching it, I was genuinely like, did they get like a 35-year-old actress to play, you know, like, I don't know, a 19-year-old in this movie? Once again, that shouldn't impact the movie too much, but it was just kind of like her performance wasn't good.
Yeah. And
I was just like kind of fixated on, man, she does not fit the casting vibe for me.
I just want to tell you, her name's Caitlin Wana from Toronto, also CW actor from The Flash.
What on earth? What did the casting director just work on The Flash? Is that what happened?
Maybe.
It's
apparently she was also on the original musical of Dear Evan Hansen.
Okay, I mean,
but like I'm looking, like she literally has like 3 credits, and by the covers it looks like they're kind of like Hallmark credits.
Yeah, so I don't know how she got, maybe she just really turned in a good audition and maybe it didn't come out on screen. But
her brother's from the Chucky
didn't work
series.
I thought her brother was fine.
Yeah,
in the movie.
From
I mean,
the
he wasn't
Chucky
like
series,
amazing or anything.
Also, we're gonna see him again because he's in the new Five Nights at Freddy's.
Wonderful.
No, you're looking forward to
that
one.
Let's get back to the kills and not shitting on the actors too much. The only other one other than the MRI one that we set up is I thought the garbage truck one was kind of fun. Don't get me wrong. Like they completely spoil it ahead of time because they're like, oh, like obviously this whippersnipper's gonna fall down and then this soccer ball is gonna hit off this and it's gonna do this and that, and then it doesn't happen. And you know, everyone's just kind of waiting for the inevitable shoe to drop where obviously it's going to happen. I just thought it was kind of fun to see her get knocked into the bin and get picked up and dumped in the garbage truck and not be able to get out. And it was the sort of thing where for a moment I was like, is our lead character actually going to be able to rescue, like, you know, her cousin here? It was sort of thing where it did get me enough where I was kind of expecting her to possibly get out. Because also, like, the tone of this movie in the beginning, it goes on for like 20 minutes with nobody dying, right? Yeah. So I was like, am I even in the right theater here? You know, if it wasn't for the opening, I would think of that I was, once again, like in some family drama.
So this is the only kill. When the soccer ball hit her in the head, I laughed out loud so hard. This is the only kill that I didn't give them flack for, like when she gets cut in half, like her face gets cut. Because I'm like, hey, there's no way you're going to do this well. And I thought it looked so bad that it was actually funny, which I was like, this is kind of funny. Like, I was like, this reminds me of the old ones. And
yeah, there's no way to do that effect of like your head ballooning and then your eyeball flying out and then everything exploding. Like, other than doing a balloon inside of a head and exploding, and it's like, then it's just gonna look like scanners. Like, you know, there's no real way to do this super effectively. So I kind of gave it a pass as well.
Yeah. Now I will say that I don't know how you feel. I did somewhat like the barbecue stuff because to me that had more kind of feel of you know, like I know when we do these, you want them like as outlandish as possible. I didn't like the ending. I didn't like the lawnmower on the face, but I thought the setup to like we've got the glass in the drink and it's kind of like getting passed around and you know, like I thought the fake outs were good. The lawnmower, I was like, I get it. You guys saw Sinister. Like, yeah, congratulations. You saw Sinister and you're like, what happens if we show this badly on screen?
Or they've seen The Happening, which is even worse because that happens not quite a bit. For me, this didn't really work because obviously it's so set up by the shard of glass, but also as someone who has seen Eric die a dozen times and knowing that his dad is in this scene and I don't remember seeing anything with his dad and he's tattooing dad on his arm in this trailer I've seen a million times, there was no real build up to it for me. I was just like, okay, when is he gonna accidentally drink the shard of glass? I was just sat there,
which makes sense. So since I didn't see that trailer, I didn't know.
Yeah, so I was kind of bored. It was the sort of thing where once again there was too much dialogue and characterization. Which once again, I'm usually someone who I like all this shit, so it's funny for me to basically be here and be like, I want my baseless, bloody Final Destination movie.
I like this Colton. This is a Colton I like.
It's refreshing, right? But it's the sort of thing where I was just kind of bored by that sequence. I get that there is like at least an effective build up and that Rube Goldberg machine is like functioning at least in that scene. But for me, it was just obvious that Dad was going to die.
So do we want to talk MRIs?
Yeah, I guess so. That was like truly kind of the standout kill of the movie, especially since it's a 1-2 punch of the MRI machine following with the vending machine, which is, also set up a little bit earlier. I think it was pretty creative. Obviously, it's completely over the top and insane.
I loved it.
But I do think it was a lot of fun. I think it's the standout scene of this movie, and if somehow you're watching this and haven't seen the scene, essentially there's these two brothers or half brothers, whatever, in the movie where one of them has a peanut allergy and the other one is Eric, as we've mentioned. He has his piercings, he's a tattooed emo kid, and essentially they come up with this plan of they're going to feed one of the brothers a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup, legally not called Reese's Peanut Butter Cup because Reese's Peanut Butter Cup does not want to be associated with, anaphylactic shock and death. So it's, a PG peanut butter cup. Anyways, they come up with the idea of feeding it to one of the brother, putting him in a wheelchair and wheeling him into a merge nearby because they're in the hospital at this point. And it's basically, if this brother dies and is medically resuscitated, basically it'll stop death there and it won't impact them. Which, this kind of concept, I believe, has been brought up in other movies, or at least the idea of death skipping them. Like failing and then it skips to the next person.
They mention in this movie that someone else did it, and I'm trying to remember, I think it's 2 that they do this, where it's either 2 or 3. I mean, they all kind of jumble together, but because in the older one, she drives a van into a river and drowns and basically stops breathing, but it's right across from the hospital, and then the doctors resuscitate her, and she's broken the curse.
I seem to remember there's another one where essentially they believe they cheated death, and they did it like in this way, where it skipped over, and then right at the end, like a wire cuts through them or something. A train track sort of thing happens. I seem to remember something with it. I mean, there's also the train track thing at the end of this movie. But basically the idea is that they're going to make his brother die, wheel him to a merge, and be resuscitated. And during this, they get him to eat the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup, and they accidentally turn on the MRI machine. And this MRI machine is ratcheting up in like its magnetic intensity the entire time until finally it goes into like experimental mode, and it's pulling everything magnetic in kind of like the general vicinity in the hospital towards the room. There's lights moving, there's things on people's desks getting pulled off, but also Eric in the room, his nose ring gets ripped out, his earrings all get ripped out, his nipple rings get ripped out, and then finally there's his cock ring that's dragging him across the room towards the MRI, and he's kind of like stuck over the opening hole of the MRI. And essentially I was kind of like, okay, there can't be too much more magnetic on him though. And as soon as you kind of have that thought, the wheelchair explodes behind him and basically impales him in a bunch of different directions, and then pulls him into the MRI and kind of like crumples him around this opening. And I remember that was like the one sequence in the movie that I was like, okay, this is kind of genius.
Yeah,
it's super stupid. It's super stupid, and I don't think it makes any sense, but I did enjoy watching it for sure. And then you kind of get the payoff of the other brother injecting himself with the EpiPen and rushing out of the room, but then, the coil from the vending machine that was set up a little bit earlier going right through his head due to the MRI machine.
Which I thought was fantastic, because I was like, oh no, they're just going to do like the whole vending machine. It's just going to like come at him. So the fact that they kind of subvert that a little, I really liked.
Yeah.
And Eric's whole death, I'd like we said before, like, I think it looks like a lot of it was practical. Like, a lot of that, there was some practical work there, which, like you said, this is also my favorite kill of it. And I think that's one of the reasons. I think this, with some practical in this, I thought this was the best looking kill, not just one of the more inventive ones.
It's also one of the relationships in the movie that is developed a little bit more organically throughout, like with them kind of like cracking jokes at one another, just basically this brotherly love element that is kind of in the movie between these characters. So it is just a good kind of microcosm of characterization, this Rube Goldberg machine of the Final Destination franchise all coming together, and then like some creative kills to kind of, I don't know, kind of bookend this 5-minute sequence in the movie. But it was essentially like that was the standout of the movie for me. It was just essentially all downhill from there.
Yeah, well, and I honestly kind of wish, even if you're going to kill him at the end with this or something, I kind of wish the movie focused on him as a character. And then even if we have like the horribly acted sister, stuff like that, because like you said, I thought his relationship to everybody was built so good because you could tell how much care they had about this character. Like, he's a funny character. It seemed, I'm sure these guys enjoyed writing this character and all that kind of stuff. And I was just like, to me, I would have much rathered him be the center and his family be affected. I mean, most of these movies, I shouldn't say that. Most of these movies have a survivor at the end because they usually carry them into the next film. That's kind of how they always go. This, breaks that. But
yeah, I think the movie would have been better with him as the main character as well. And also if they took the approach of characterizing him and his relation to his family unit, like they did in this movie, where it's like him cracking jokes, him basically, it's just like there isn't a scene where they sit down and talk about for 10 minutes about how important his dad is to him. But we know he's upset by it in the sequence of like tattooing his dad's name, dad with a heart on his arm and, some like playful jabs back and forth, right? It's the sort of thing where the other approach to this movie is sitting down for 20 minutes and talking about how upset you are over your mom leaving you as a kid. And once again, we're all there and we're like, okay, we know the mom's gonna die and we know likely you guys are gonna die, so why do we even care about this? So I agree. I wish the movie was kind of centered around him. But it's probably also the sort of thing that you could have just also got a bad actor to play Eric in the movie and we wouldn't have felt that way. It's mostly this guy's performance that sells us on that, right? Before we wrap up, the only other thing I want to mention is Tony Todd, because obviously you're probably more familiar with him than I am. I mostly just know him from Candyman, of course.
I'm kind of the same. I've seen him like pop up in random stuff, but no vehicles really other than Candyman that I've seen him like prominent in. And obviously his cameos in these movies as I watched them all.
Yeah, Candyman, and he's the voice of Venom in Spider-Man 2 on, PlayStation is more or less where I know him from. But I thought this was a good scene. I liked how basically it was about the inevitability of death, about how you can't escape it, that even though he believes he's escaped it, he knows at some point it's coming for him. And since this is his final role, it very much felt almost like a little bit meta in a way. Like Tony Todd, when he was performing this, like obviously he's in a chair, there's not much mobility, he's very gaunt and slender, which is, when I was watching it, I didn't know specifically if it was cancer that killed him.
I believe so, yeah.
It's stomach cancer, yeah. I did search it up. So when he was performing this, he probably knew that like there was a little bit of some power behind these lines, and he probably does believe this to a certain degree, that like his days are numbered. So I just thought there was a little bit more behind his lines / behind his performance, and it just kind of helped elevate this scene. There's still some garbage in the scene, of course, but Tony Todd, there's nothing. He's doing nothing wrong in the scene. He's the standout by far.
Yeah, I mean, he's always kind of the highlight of any of these films. Like, his cameos are always good. He's always like the right amount of camp, just camping it up and being ominous and like almost like a real like Vincent Price presence or something. But yeah, I mean, I thought this is a franchise that he's been on record that like he really, really enjoys. I can't remember. I think it's the fourth one they didn't include him in, but which was kind of sad. But like, I know he had a lot of love for this franchise, and obviously, this franchise is a little later on in his acting career, like the 2000s. So I'm sure a lot of people like went to Candyman after seeing him in Final Destination. This kind of, revitalized who he is as this like horror icon.
And then I guess the only other thing we should talk about is the ending, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought this shit was awful. Like,
terrible.
The train, all the car crashes, the fact that both of the leads, essentially the older sister and the little brother, just kind of get splattered
by logs
right at the end of it, by logs kind of flying at the screen almost in a 3D effect from 2010. I just kind of shrugged. I was like, okay, very good. I did think there was a chance that there was another character kind of having the premonition, and like we were kind of gonna get like almost like a soft setup for the next movie, which I thought may have been a little bit more interesting. But I mean, I don't give a shit that these characters died at the end of this movie. I wish it was a little bit more creative, but yeah, no, it was kind of whatever.
This has this ending. Does this make you excited for what will it be, like 2 years from now when we get to Leprechaun Origins, which these guys also directed?
Oh, God, really?
Yeah, I think like they're pretty much the only two things they've directed is this Leprechaun Origins and Kim Possible live action movie.
No. They directed the Freaks remake that I've seen as well, which
I've never seen that.
Very boring, aggressively boring, but people do like it. So maybe it's another thing that it's just reviewed really well, but not for me. No, I'm not excited to see Leprechaun Origins or really overly excited to see the next Final Destination movie. Obviously, I'll go see it because I go see everything in theaters, and because once again, I'm hoping that we'll kind of find some more of the fun in the next one and maybe get more creative kills closer to the MRI scene than just, a wind veil or a wind thing flying off a roof and going through someone's head. Which
maybe they'll give them a bigger budget. They can do like some more outlandish
practical
things.
Effects. I would like to see some practical effects, some more outlandish stuff, and fingers crossed, right? Fingers crossed. But if you're new to the podcast, our review rubric is nay, okay, yay, or slay. So Rowan, what would you give Final Destination Bloodlines?
I should have thought about this more, really. This is a difficult one because so much of it I think is dog shit. And I feel like I have to give it an A. I have to give it an A.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I would give all the slays to the Eric guy and the bass singer girl. I really enjoyed them. Like you said, the MRI was really good. I really thought, and this is coming from someone that in the last 2 days has been binge watched all these movies. I had a lot of fun with all these movies, and this is the one I didn't have fun with. I was just even the really bad ones in the series are funny or fun or so bad they're good. And I was this is just bad. And not everything that happens in 2025 and onwards, we have to imprint this family trauma stuff and these trappings of horrors of new age horror here, or elevated horror. This isn't elevated. Don't take that sentence as it's elevated, but they want to use some of those themes where the joys of Final Destinations is just stupid fun. The characters are stupid. The kills are outlandish, and they're just a good time. You're laughing at them. And I thought that, like I said at the beginning, I thought this took itself way too seriously to be fun. And I think this is the weakest of it. So I'm going to give it an A. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm conflicted on it as well. I think where I'll come down is I'll give it an okay, because I think this movie is thoroughly mediocre for a lot of it. There's a couple of standout sequences, as we said, the intro sequence with the Space Needle. It's conceptually interesting, even if visually it doesn't come off well. And as we've mentioned, we like the performance of the lead actress in that sequence. Eric is solid in the movie. His MRI kill / the vending machine kill is a kind of the sort of thing in this movie that will stand out and will be something that I'll remember likely going forward from this movie. And yeah, it's nice to see Tony Todd on screen. But the rest of this movie is boring or just visually ugly or kind of overwrought with feeling the need to force a deeper meaning, kind of trying to make more of a meal out of the Final Destination franchise when basically we're just there for fun. We're just there for some disposable garbage. And, if you get some great kills along the way, then that's all the better. It's just, I'm not looking for Final Destination Bloodlines to say anything insightful about the human condition. I'm looking for it to show me a guy getting dismantled in an MRI machine. So it's the sort of thing where I got some of that. I think it's mediocre. I'm going to give it a very light okay. And if you're not following us already on our socials, you can do so at It Slays Podcast. We're on Instagram, Facebook, / Letterboxd, Threads, Bluesky. If you're on a social media, have a look at It Slays Podcast and see if we're there. And if you want to help support the show financially, like our horror hounds Holly, Nicholas, Mark, Steven, Dan, Brian, Trevor, and James, gain access to the Patreon exclusive show Stream Screams and get episodes of the main show 48 hours early, be sure to head on over to patreon.com/itslayspodcast and choose whatever tier works best for you. Now, Rowan, there was some Johnny Cash on here. There was, what was it? You Make Me Want to Shout, or
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, there's a couple of jams on here. Anything making the playlist?
Yeah, I'll have to, you know what? I might let it resonate for a week. See, I mean, Shout, I feel like Shout and Rain and Fire are like on a regular playlist for me. So maybe I'll see, like, when I listened to it, do I think about a Skyview restaurant just crashing? And if it hits, then maybe we'll have to add it. So in order to find out if I add it, you have to go to Spotify, to the It Slays Podcast Horrific playlist. If you have any problems finding it, you can go to any of the social media that Colton just mentioned. Go in the bio, click the link tree link. It'll take you directly there. We upload scores or licensed music from iconic horror movies we review, or just horror movies we love. So follow it. We update it regularly and get your spooky music on, because why the hell not?
And next time on the show, we haven't really discussed it, but Fear Street Prom Queen comes out next weekend. So I feel like that'll be the sort of thing that some of us will want to check out and have a conversation about. I don't know if I'll make it. We'll see what my schedule looks like. But,
I thought some of us just meant Jill.
There's no way Jill misses that episode, I don't think.
I feel like we got a busy couple weeks coming. It seems like there's a lot of horror. I
was going to say, I might not make next episode, but like I'll 100% be back at the end of the month for the new, the Philippou brothers movie, Bring Her Back, their follow-up to Talk to Me. I'll definitely be back for that at the end of the month. Is there something else as well?
There's stuff coming out. I'll have to look. I don't know. The Ritual.
Yeah, I remember we were messaging about that. It was busy. I just can't remember the other
I
things.
think The Ritual comes pretty soon. Your big one, Dangerous Animals, I think comes out.
Yeah, that's early June. Yeah. I think we're probably going to have an episode, probably one episode a week for sure for the next couple of weeks. And with that, I think that about wraps things up for this episode. So until next time, I'm Colton.
I'm Rowan.
And as long as you keep listening, we'll keep slaying.